So let us assume you're a production manager. You're responsible for 6 production departments and they work in series to deliver a specific required output. I come to you and I say, I want you to size the 6 production departments that you control such that they run at maximum efficiency and they must deliver on average 10 units per hour. How would you size and resource these departments? Well, most people would agree that a chain of average 10, 10, 10 capacity on each unit would deliver 10 overall. They are happy because all the departments will produce on average 10 per hour for 100% efficiency. We can't do better than that, surely. But we have a problem. Industrial processes are variable. On average, 10 means some 12s and some zeros. That gives us 10 on average. But industrial processes are not normally distributed. Which then brings us to scientific fact number 2. We have to deal with the fact that industrial processes in the chain are also interdependent. So if B goes down, the upstream departments have to stop and the downstream departments starve. And if F goes down, it blocks E from producing more, which blocks D, and so on. So if we look at 2 resources and their combined effect, we see that as the green produces less than the blue, blue has to stop. When blue produces less than the green's instantaneous capacity, green is starved and can only produce what blue is handing over. So the combined output of these resources is the least of the instantaneous production of both, the red line. So let's continue with the 2 resources and now add 4 more in series. All the other resources have non-normal production distribution. Our instantaneous output is again the lowest output of any resource at any time. And to make it really interesting, sometimes we win the lottery and by accident we exceed our production record. But it was not because we were so good, we just won the lottery. The manager the next day will say, see, you always complain. You don't have enough of this, you don't have enough of that. But see, you can do it. And then tomorrow, when we look at the entire chain, we see that the output is 5, not 10. Now imagine that you're in charge of production. Next morning you arrive at work and you're confronted by an hourly output of 5 for night shift. Naturally, you will call in your leaders and ask, where's my production? What do you think they will say? The manager in charge of this chain has many, many problems. Who does he hold responsible for the shortfall? Who does he reward for good performance? Moreover, where is the bottleneck he should focus his attention on? What will the interdepartmental relationships and the willingness to collaborate be like? What is the likelihood that decision-making will be devolved towards the lower levels of the organization? What will be the attitude towards trying innovative new ideas? What will employee engagement and willingness to contribute new ideas be like? How much time will this manager have to focus on the future and improvement versus managing day-to-day conflicts? Can you imagine what will happen if we digitize all of this information? We'll have a total overload of data without any useful information. And this is what the situation looks like to management and their management. We sometimes exceed our budget, but on average, the rate falls well short. In cases where the gap is greater than 25%, we know from experience that we are dealing with a balanced capacity moving bottleneck situation that we just discussed. Now, the industrial age success was built on managerial genius and holding employees accountable. And you can imagine the pressure on the manager in the previous slide to measure and hold his employees accountable. And with more data, it's possible to introduce more KPIs. Boston Consulting Group partner Ivan Moreau says, in effect, these KPIs at the operational level are set as if the parts of the business operate in isolation and can be measured separately. And we saw just that in our 6 production unit example. People put their energy into what can be measured at the expense of cooperation. As performance deteriorates, we add more structures, processes, systems, and that is what's killing productivity and what makes people suffer at work. People stop cooperating and trust disappears. So as you can imagine, the ERP system has given the accountants a powerful tool for monitoring what happens in the operations and indirectly, although sometimes directly, the ability to control what happens. I see many cases where operations management is prevented from hiring people, purchasing equipment or materials purely because it's not in the budget. In fact, the ERP system has built-in checks and balances which have to be overridden by a senior manager or the accountant before it will allow deviation from the budget. The accountants, through the ERP system, have effectively captured large operations. And that's another reason why engagement suffers and productivity does not improve. And by the way, agility is totally lost in this situation.